garage this afternoon with a few days off work, and I'm going to try and start one of my old motorcycles up that hasn't been going for about a year, I suppose. I completely rebuilt it, but I'll tell you about that in a minute. I'm just going to get the MG out and park it up. There's my MG. I've had it a couple of years now. I had one about 30 years ago. It's quite a rare beast really, only 2,600 ever made, and that's got a little bit of provenance behind it because it was owned by a Concorde chief test pilot bloke called Peter Baker. Had it for about 8 or 9 years. He then sold it on to a flight test engineer who had it for the best part of 10 years after that. In fact, I met the flight test engineer earlier in this year, and he had a re-drive of his car, which is quite a good day out. Now, talking about re-driving cars, etc, etc, this motorcycle that I'm going to expose from underneath the covers is a motorcycle that I bought in 1979. It's not the first one, it's not that one there, that's a Yamaha trials bike, it's a CT175. 1970. The GT 750 at the back is the one that I bought when I was in the Royal Navy. I used it for day-to-day travelling back and forth to Portsmouth, etc. And I sold it in 1983. I managed to trace it down through the powers of Facebook, and amazingly I got it back, and it had done 8,000 miles since I sold it in 1983. I took it all to pieces, sympathetically restored it back. I didn't want to absolute minter. It runs a treat, but I haven't started it this year because I've been interested in my two other cars, the little MR2 and the MG. Got too many toys, ain't I? Anyway, I'm going to drag it out now and see if we can start. This is a nice looking bike. Got it during lockdown. It came in from America. It was a non-starter. So I completely stripped all that out, highly polished it, etc. And repainted it. Not 100% standard paint, but I quite like that green, so that's the way it was. It's my bike, I do what I like with it. As with a lot of other bits and pieces, I like to put my little bit on it. Here it is, 2-stroke, liquid cooled, 3-cylinder, GT 750, 31,800 miles, and even got a few scratches and dents. This is when I used to have a tank bag back in those days. Back in the 70s, I used to go backwards and forwards to Portsmouth with it, as I said earlier, and these little scratches and marks are still on there. It's quite amazing. Just had the battery on charge for a few hours, and I'm going to pop it in here and see what happens. I've connected that up, battery charged, and I'm going to disconnect this hose I put here just to bleed the fuel off last year. Tyres a bit soft. Put some fuel into it, and because these carburetors are constant vacuum, it means they draw the fuel out the tank. I'm going to press the old, turn the button to prime, which will flood out the carburetors, top them up. God, that's stiff. Just going to prime them for 30 seconds, something like that. Get those carburetors topped up. Take a couple of spark plugs out. And I'll stroke it over. I don't want any problem. It's been standing for a long time, whereby the fuel goes into the crankshaft and causes all sorts of problems, because two strokes rely on crankcase compression. So if you've got fuel in there, there's a lot of grief. So let's just turn that over. That's not very good, is it? I'm so pleased. But saying that, it started pretty much immediately, didn't it, really? Toyota is the same as well, the MR2. Japanese engineer is just so good, as does this thing. I've got a TS 185 in the shed. I know, it's got the wrong mudguard on the front, and it's got a black headlight. I know. So all the rivet counters out there put me right, but it's my bike. I bought it in 1979. I remember Blondie was top of the hit parade when I bought this, and hit me with your rhythm stick. What a fantastic year that was, all through 1979. Do with a bit of a dust down, but here we go. You know what? I went up to Oxfordshire last year, and I did 350 miles on that bike, and I came back. I was exhausted, but I came back and I didn't have a bad back or nothing like that. 350 miles in a day. I mean, it's just incredible. I wouldn't want to do 350 miles on that in a day, but I'll do 350 miles in that, and I'll definitely do 350 miles in that, and I have done. Old MG. I've done about 5,500 miles I've done in that. I've only had it 18 months, something like that, so that gets used. Had a good run around all the summer. But there we go. Anybody that doesn't know a GT 750 Suzuki don't know much about old bikes. Anyway. That's it then. I'm going to put it away now. Going to have a nice cup of tea. But before I go, there's a good little tip if anybody's doing all their classic car stuff. And it sometimes becomes a bit of a pain, doesn't it? Because you want to do it with fun in hand. So I bought these last year. My mate Simon put me onto them, and you put them onto a car charger, put 12 volts to it, and it pumps it up, and it takes up 600 millimeters, 600 mil, so you can get underneath them and work on your cars, your classic cars, with ease, without having all those dodgy jacks and dodgy axle stands. And I find them so good. I've done both my cars on that, and it just makes it a bit, you know, a fun thing to do, opposed to being a pain. Anyway, I'm going to put this little baby around in a minute after it's run up a little bit of temperature. I just want to check the water temperature and everything on it. That'll be another 15 minutes yet, I would have thought, putting that water around there, and then I'll go have a cup.